Hello, my name is Clayton, and welcome to episode 103 of the Watch Dog podcast. I'm a professional dog runner and watch enthusiast talking to his pals about dogs and watches. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for listening. You know I appreciate it. You are spared from listening to me and me alone this week. I have a special guest coming back for, I believe, his fourth appearance on the podcast now. Last year, I think, was the last time he was with us when we talked about our Mount Rushmore of micro brand watches. We even got Formex to send us something in off of that episode. My good buddy Keith. Keith, welcome back. It's been way too long. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me. I'm glad you revived the podcast yet again, and I get to listen to more episodes.
Yeah, like I said with Sanjay, if I fizzle out this time, that's it. Podcast over, ending it dead and buried. Well, I notice it's important to be consistent. I think you listen to a lot of podcasts and watch a lot of videos. You kind of rely on weekly content from your favorite content creators, and when they miss a week, you're kind of bummed. I'm that way with podcasts, so I figured if I'm going to really give this a good, honest try one more time, I need to do my best to be consistent. I missed a couple Saturdays, so I'm doubling up a couple weeks to catch up. And numbers were best ever right before I ended last fall. And, it's been a little slow to catch up to where they were before, but I don't care. It's just, it's fun.
Exactly.
I'm going to talk more about that in one of my, if you saw the title, you saw highs and lows. One of my lows, I am going to talk a little bit about content in general and why people do it, but I do it just because it's fun, gets the creative juices flowing. But I would be lying if I said I didn't pay attention to the analytics part of it at all. I do.
Yeah, you can't help it.
Right. So how are you? It's been a long time.
Let me tell you, not a lot of updates on the watch front from me, but I'm still in the hobby and still enjoying it. Got back into video games again, so that's taken up a lot of my time, which it's kind of nice. I think the bad thing about watches is you always want to buy one, so it's nice to have other things that you're into, so you're not just constantly thinking of what you want to buy. So, but yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Still
definitely. This is a good time of year for me because I'm way into like fantasy football, and the Lions are actually good. So I watch a lot of like Lions YouTube stuff. So this is a really good time to not buying and obsessing over watches.
Yeah. But I saw the last quarter of that Texans Lions game, and that was wild.
God, I'm not going to live to 50 if they continue to win like this. I mean, these games used to be like this and they would lose. I mean, forever. You'd think that you'd be teased by a Lions victory and then, somebody would hit a 65-yard field goal and they'd lose or something like that. Now it's the other way. They stress you out and they pull the games out. So I guess I'll take this, but still I don't like it. They can never just make it easy. I guess they have made it easy a few times this year, but that game against the Texans Sunday night, whew.
Those 2 field goals that just made it.
Oh, my God.
I mean, after watching the Bears, and the Bears are just a train wreck right now.
How do you feel about the Bears? Are you a pretty intense Bears fan, or are you more casual?
I would say I lean casual. I do watch most games, but I am the person, if you're not putting a good product on the field, I'll eventually tune out. I'm not watching a team that's going to be, 5-11, and it's whatever game 17 or whatever. And I made a declaration last game that I'm not watching any more Bears games. But of course, I just got invited to a Bears game this weekend, so of course I'm going to go. Hopefully they beat the Packers. I'm sure they won't.
Oh, but God, yes.
It's been 2 full games without a touchdown, so now we're rooting for just a touchdown. Forget the win. The win's out the door. If they could at least get a touchdown, I'll be happy. So,
well, they fired their offensive coordinator today, and so hopefully sometimes changes like that spark success. So, yes, I'll be rooting for the Bears this weekend. So you're actually going to the game?
No. I'm just going to a friend's house. Okay. Actually, my brother's house to watch the game with some friends.
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Have you gone to games much?
The last game I was at was the last game of Old Soldiers Field. I think that was I don't know, 2001, 2003, something like that. So I don't go to games. I hate being in the cold, so you got to go early in the season, and it's like where Soldier Field is just like really difficult to get to, and
Yeah.
I'd just rather be at home watching the game.
I'm usually like that with live events. The couch is the best seat in the house for sure. I went to Soldier Field, I believe it was 99.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Lions, Bears. I believe that was old Soldier Field. And I just remember it was snowy and cold
Hmm.
as hell. I went with my dad and we met some of his friends that he'd met through work and stuff and stayed with them actually for the weekend. And I went to college and grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So
Okay.
that was like a 7 or 8 hour drive for us to get to Chicago. Driving to Chicago is as close as driving to Detroit, where I'm from. There's a lot of
Oh,
Packer
okay.
fans where I grew up because we're in proximity. We're only like 3.5 to 4 hours from Green Bay. But there are many of us like me who think you're a traitor if you root for a team from another state. I don't care if we live an hour away. Shouldn't be Packer fans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So before we get started, what are you wearing on your wrist tonight?
I am wearing the Citizen
Oh,
Silverleaf,
so good.
that lacquered dial JDM version of the. It's an automatic Citizen out of quartz. And there's a few variations. Yeah, I have the blue dial. I think there's a white dial and there's a green dial. But it actually just got brought up. I was talking with a friend and I was asked, what do you think the best watch under $1,000 is, your biggest bang for buck, or what, whatever, whatever the exact wording was. And I said this watch. I mean, the dial's amazing, the finishing is amazing, and I really enjoy it.
Where did you get that one from?
Chrono 24.
Okay.
Just found a seller in Japan, and it was here like in a day and a half. It was like I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it was like one of the fastest shippings ever, and it was from Japan. So
Yeah. It was the same thing with my Citizen that I got. Unreal. It's just, and timing's different. I think they're like 12 hours ish ahead. And I was actually watching the Lions Rams playoff game when I
okay,
bought it. And then the seller just was communicating with me, and I talked about this in an episode. Don't have to go too into it, but yeah, like you said, day and a half, 2 days later, whatever. I had the watch, and incredible. Yeah, those I've seen those on Amazon. Your watch,
oh yeah,
and I think there are Japanese sellers who just go through Amazon as well.
okay.
I don't know how I feel about buying a watch like that on Amazon. I'm sure it's legit and cool, but you have heard of fakes and just other kind of shady stuff going on Amazon. So I'm sure it'd
Yeah,
be easy
this
to get it figured out if it was fake or you got, taken
this would be
advantage
an
of.
odd watch to fake. I don't think you're going to get many buyers. I think the dial's hard to fake. I think your time is
Right.
better spent faking other watches. But
I don't know. They fake the F91W. They might.
yeah, yeah, much more popular watch still, though.
True. Well, it's a beautiful watch. I hope to see it in person one day. I just love what Citizen's doing. I bought my wife a Soyosa, and
Okay.
Labor Day. Our anniversary is right around Labor Day, and I went to a meetup and I saw the Tiffany blue Soyosa. Somebody
Oh
had
yeah.
one, and she was like, "Wow, that's really nice." I was like, "It wears big. It's like 41 millimeter. Wears large." She likes bigger watches, so yeah, she. I bought it for her, and she loves it. And she's not really a big automatic watch person, but I was just impressed at the quality for, you know,
Mhm.
$300. I mean, I've handled quite a few Seiko Presage models that are even more expensive. I don't know. I take that Soyosa every single time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Plus the 6R is my arch nemesis as
Yeah,
well.
well, yeah, I'm having a lot of problems with the 6R watch myself. So I used to write that off. I'd be like, people complain about the 6R, get over it. No, no, no. I am now experiencing the same thing. Sometimes it's 10 seconds slow, some days it's 2 minutes slow, but it's a little more off than I'd prefer for sure. So
Yeah. I am wearing my No Shock Breitling B01 Detroit Lions chronomat. Have not really taken it off. I think I've worn it every single day since getting it. It's my good luck charm. Lions will continue to win as long as I wear it. I think once they lose, I will give it a week off and wear something else. But I think I'm just going to wear it straight until they lose.
Yeah, okay. Well, that works. Yeah, I read that in a news article actually that the Lions are winning because you bought that watch.
Yeah.
In reference to you personally.
Yeah, I've gotten calls from Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. I don't know. They're going to fly me out to a game or something. I think I'm going to get a game ball one of these weeks. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's. I talked about it on the podcast. I was a little leery about buying this watch, but I don't regret it at all. It's my family and friends know that I have it, and it's kind of an inside joke now too. Like I made an Instagram post, and my cousin posted. She's like, "You can't take that watch off." so it's kind of fun.
If for some reason the Lions lose out the rest of the year, are you still enjoying the watch just as much?
It may get sent in to Breitling for a repair when I heave it against the wall one of these weeks. I can't promise that's not going to happen, but no, it's the logo is so small that it's just not that cheesy of like a novelty watch. So really, it just looks like a really nice blue chronograph.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've enjoyed wearing it, and it's very comfortable and easy to wear too, and not super thick for an automatic chronograph. Automatic chronographs are actually not my favorite. I think I would choose a quartz every time just for wearability, and automatic chronographs can have issues and take a bump and things can happen. So I just prefer like a quartz. But no, it's really been nice and wearable.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I bought one watch this year. It's a chronograph and it's quartz.
Yeah, so, speed timer, right?
Agree. Yep, speed timer.
Yeah, you got the white one. That's nice. If you're not familiar with Keith, if you haven't listened to him on the podcast before, he is a very patient buyer, does not buy a lot of watches. Like a camel can go a very long time without drinking water. Keith can go a very long time without buying a watch. And that's one of the things I admire and I want to be when I grow up. I want to be Keith. I want to be patient. I've only bought 5 watches this year, which is a record for me. So, but nowhere near Keith.
That is more than I thought. I thought it was actually going to be less.
Oh, yeah. Well, nothing really expensive. The Breitling was the most expensive. Mm-hmm. What did I buy? I bought the Citizen, then a special pre-order watch I can't talk about yet, and then a Casio-tron, the Breitling. I did buy the Aerospace, but that I don't count that because I got a full refund for it.
Okay.
And then there's one more. Why can't I think of it? There is a fifth one. Oh, the Hermes.
Oh,
but I sold that. But I got that for a really good deal from Topper Pre-Owned, so that wasn't too expensive. So by far a year where I have not spent all that much money on watches, and I had a lot saved up because I hadn't bought. Hey, crazy to think when you don't impulsively buy watches, you can actually save some money. And not be stressed out when you buy it and rush to sell everything. All right, so I had a kind of a fun idea. This is inspired. I live in New England. I live in Rhode Island. The New England Patriots are our home team out here. And I'm going to give full credit for stealing their idea. There's a sports talk radio show out here called Felger and Maz. And every Tuesday they do an advanced breakdown of the previous Sunday's New England Patriots game. And they have a special guest on who watches film and breaks it down. And they do a segment called 3 Up and 3 Down, where they look at the 3 Patriots players who played the best and the 3 players who played the worst. I'm stealing that idea, but I didn't want to call it 3 Up and 3 Down. I thought that was a little too blatant. So I'm going to call it 3 highs and 3 lows. Well, we might just do 2 because we can only think of 2. But if we do a recurring segment here, I'd like to do this every other month. I think it'd be kind of fun. Maybe we'll expand to 3, but I think we'll do 2 highs and 2 lows to get started. So yeah, I didn't want to blatantly call it, 2 up and 2 down. That's a little too plagiaristic. But thank you, Felger and Maz, for the idea. The highs, Keith and I are going to talk about 2 things each that we're high on in the watch hobby or the watch industry, and then 2 things we're low on, 2 things that are annoying us or that we think could be improved. Sound good?
Do we
Make
start
you-
with highs?
Sure, let's start on a positive note.
Okay, this is a high for me. So this might be an obvious one. This might be actually a low for a lot of people, but this is a high for me. And that's pre-owned prices.
Yes.
Pre-owned prices are much lower than they have been the last few years. And it certainly seems like a buyer's market when it comes to watches. Luckily, because of what Clayton said before, I don't have a ton of watches to sell. So I don't necessarily, I'm not going to take a hit for the prices being low. It's the other people I would theoretically buy from. And I also think maybe, new watch prices are high, but maybe ADs are willing to wheel and deal a little more. But my first one was, pre-owned prices. There's certain brands that pretty much all brands are down, aside from a couple. Some brands are really down. Moser, for example. I mean, the prices I'm seeing on Moser were unthinkable 2-3 years ago. Obviously, Grand Seiko. I mean, you could keep naming watch brands, but if you're looking for a watch now is your moment. Maybe even next year will be your moment. I don't know,
Right.
but I would say now is the moment to look at prices, to look at watches.
Yep, and I think you can even offer less, and somebody might be inclined to take it. So prices are great, and just you don't want to get too greedy and offend somebody. But who cares?
No, get greedy.
Who cares if you do? What the heck?
Suggest a price.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? You don't get the watch. What do you do?
I mean, we've heard stories of eBay sellers and even secondhand dealers. You make them an offer that you think is crazy and that they will laugh off, and then they say, "Okay, we'll do it." And people are like, "Oh, I think Bobby Legs has had that happen before." You're like, "Oh gosh, they said yes. Wow, I was not expecting them to."
Yeah, a friend of mine got a text from a well-known pre-owned watch, new and pre-owned watch dealer, and they said, "Oh yeah, we have this watch available in case you want it." And then they said, "Well, Delray has it for way lower," and they said, "Okay, we'll match it." It was like no, it was like right away, considerably lower. It's like, okay, you got it.
Oh wow,
it's like
that's awesome.
that's
Yeah.
that's what you got to do.
It's almost makes you want to buy watches, doesn't it, Keith?
Almost, almost.
What are you eyeing right now, if you don't mind? Anything?
I'm kind of
Are you
all
eyeing
over the
anything?
board. I would say the number one watch I'm looking to try. I actually went to a few ADs a few weeks ago to try a bunch of new watches that none of them had in yet. One was that new Grand Seiko that you saw with the blue, like the greenish blue dial.
Oh yeah, the titanium.
Yeah, the titanium one.
That's a nice style. That's my favorite. I know people love the birches, and those are really cool. I don't know, something about that one. It's really stuck with me.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a buyer for that, at least certainly right
No.
now. I think that watch might be a little big for me too. But I certainly want to see that in person. I also wanted to see the new black dial Aquaterra 38 millimeter that came out. But the one I wanted to see the most, which they also didn't have, was the Longines Zulu Titanium and 39 millimeters that was released this year. Hodinkee did a limited edition, and then they came out with a different looking one that looks more like the other Zulus that have been released. I'm a little worried about the lug to lug, and especially the male end link to male end link measurements on that. But that's a Keith watch if I've ever seen one. In titanium. It has the gilt, which I like. It has the red accent color. I mean, they did a good job with it. So I'm looking forward to see that in person.
Yeah, that is always the bugaboo with Longines. The lug to lug is always just a little long, even if the dimension
Yeah, they're getting
works.
better. I will say the lugs are definitely straight out. It seems like there's no curve to them, and then the male and links add to it also. So we'll see, but I'm looking forward to that. There's really no have to have right now. It's more of any kind of watch purchase, especially a major one, would be sometime next year. So
and I can't think of the reference number for that titanium GS right now, but that's a pretty expensive watch, isn't it?
oh yeah,
over
it's-
10
that's
grand, right?
10. Yeah, 10 or 11.
Yeah. Yeah. That's but boy, that's really nice. Of
Yeah.
all that Grand Seiko event I went to, of all the heavy hitter watches that were there, and really hard to find. I mean, even the Kodo Tourbillon was there. That watch was probably the most popular, the one everybody was like really eager to get a few seconds with, to try it on and snap a picture of it. That was kind of the star of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Really
I mean,
nice.
let's be honest, I'm not a buyer at retail for that, but I think in 2-3 years, I'm sure you could find that pre-owned for a decent price.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is 40 millimeters, which is pretty big for me for like a fixed bezel type of like dress leaning watch, even
Yep.
though it also leans sport. 38 millimeters would have been great. 2 millimeters, what's the big deal? But it is kind of a big deal. I still love to see it though. I mean, I'm a sucker for green blue dials, and that seems to be the best one.
Sometimes with watches that are titanium, you'll take the trade off. It might wear a little big, but it's so light,
Mhm.
and that watch feels pretty
Hmm.
similar to my Citizen, which feels like an absolute toy because it's a titanium quartz. It just feels, and mine's also 38 millimeter, the Citizen. So, but that watch, I have bigger wrists than you, I think, but I don't know the size. I thought it worked great on me. I thought the size worked, but sometimes you'll be willing to take that trade off. It might wear a little big, but darn, it's so light that it just doesn't feel like a big watch. So
Yeah, I've tried the white birch on. That seems to fit me pretty good. I think the same exact sizing. So you never know.
Okay. All right. My first high is a weird one, I guess. So I bought this Breitling. It's not an inexpensive watch, close to $9,000, and I bought it from Topper in California. It comes to me. I open the box, and you're expecting, when you spend that much money, I think even subconsciously you're expecting like this grandiose box, fancy presentation. And I open it, and there's this little tiny rectangular box, Breitling box. Feels like it's made of plastic because it is. I was let down for maybe 2 seconds, and then after that, I was thankful that it's so small and easy to store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Breitling eco-friendly boxes. They are foldable and reusable. They are made from 100% recycled or upcycled plastic bottles. The watch pillow doubles as a travel case. They do this. They say they do this. I hope their reasons are pure and they're doing this to actually save the environment. Yeah, but yes, they say they want to reduce their negative impact on the environment. They've been given awards because they fold. They're foldable, so you can ship much more of them. And that saves like on their CO2 carbon footprint and all that stuff. So I Googled this box in anticipation of our conversation today, and it takes you to a video about the box. It's like a minute long, and every comment on the YouTube video was negative. Like, I just bought my dad a $10,000 Breitling, and I expect better presentation similar to what Omega does with the big wooden box. And everybody was like, I don't know, kind of felt like it diminished the luxury watch buying experience because it is this small box. I guess I've owned enough luxury watches with gigantic boxes that you have to, play Tetris with in the closet that it just doesn't bother me anymore. I actually prefer a small foldable box like this that isn't a big deal. That part of it is a travel watch case that I can, if I want to take 2 watches on a weekend trip or something, I can just stuff a watch in. I think that's cool, but yeah, it's funny. I hear complaints about people thinking watch boxes are too big in general, but then yeah, it was interesting to see the comments that everybody thought it took away from the luxury experience. But I don't know. I like it. I'm all for small presentation boxes because there was a time when I owned a lot of watches, and it wasn't always easy to find room for them. And they really, you look at them for 2 seconds, oh, that's cool, and then you throw it in the closet, never to be seen again. And then shipping is way more expensive when you sell it, inevitably. I remember I had Longines. I mean, they're even worse than Omega. The boxes are huge. And then, shipping is so this is really easy. If I, not that I ever will sell this watch, but if I ever sold a Breitling, just really easy to, put in a small box and ship it out. So I don't know. I'm all for the small boxes. How do you feel about watch boxes and the presentation? If you're spending $10,000 on a watch, do you want it to be big, the box and the
No.
packaging to be big?
Yeah, I'm complete with you. I mean, yeah, you look at it for 2 seconds and then I have to store it in a closet forever. So the smaller, the better. It'd be nice if, like a Rolex box, for example. It's not that big. It looks nice enough.
It's
I
really
think
not
you
that
still getting
nice
the lux-
compared to other brands.
Yeah. But it's like, it gets the
Good
job
size,
done.
though. Good size, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I wish there wasn't even that. I wish it would just came in a cardboard box that you could just put away. I really don't care about that at all. I say that, and maybe if I spent 10 grand on a watch and I was let down by the box, maybe I feel differently, but I doubt it.
Well, the Moser box isn't even, and so like you said, Moser is taking a hit on the secondary market. Even when I bought mine secondhand. My watch originally retails for 25 grand. I did not pay anywhere in that stratosphere. Don't
Yeah.
worry, I did not. But the box, if I bought that watch new at retail, I think I would be slightly disappointed in the box. It's nothing spectacular. I mean, it really, I don't know what it's supposed to do. I guess, I don't know. It should have like moving parts and be battery powered or something for $25,000. Geez. But now it's a regular watch box. I think if you do like, them a brand to go the extra mile with packaging, I think Omega does a great job. Those wooden boxes, like when you buy a Seamaster and the Speedmaster presentation box is really pretty cool too. And some of the freebies you get with some brands, but yeah, I don't know. As someone who's owned a lot of watches and isn't interested in playing Tetris in my closet, I'm all for the small Breitling box.
Going back to Moser for just a quick second, have you looked at current prices for the watch that you have, and does it bum you out when you look at it? Or has it not? Does that specific watch hold more value than maybe others?
So I have. You ever put your collection into Chrono 24?
No.
So you can do that, and then it shows you. Not that I do it for this. I just like to put the watches I own in there and see what they're doing. But you can see, and all the listings out there are more than I bought mine for. But I think if I were to look at market value, it's probably a couple $1,000s less. I don't think it's too bad though.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I feel like I got a pretty good deal on mine. I waited for mine to go down.
Okay.
I'd seen it. It was on like the 6th, 7th, 8th page of pre-owned watches on Topper's pre-owned section. It was buried, and they tend to, if you do look at those back pages of pre-owned watches, they do tend to lower the prices from time to time. And they had done that a few times with this one. And finally got to a point where, the gears started turning, and what can I do to make this work? And the answer was consolidating a bunch of watches. Still don't regret it. So
now, let's say you could sell that watch for more than you paid for it, even if it's $1 more than you've paid for it today. Would that change you keeping that watch, or do you think you still love that watch? You're still in it for the long haul?
I don't know. Everything has a price, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. So and there may be an expense coming up that I need to do to help a family member out. So it could be on the table there. So my wife works with somebody who is into watches, a surgeon. I think I sent a picture of the Grand Seiko. He has a double branded Grand Seiko. He has a JLC. He is in love with my Moser, and he actually did say to her that if I ever decide to move it, to let him know first. So,
okay.
It could happen. But no, I really like it. And I haven't worn it much now because it's NFL season. I guess I'm wearing this watch, but no, it's a great watch. But yeah, so I love. So sidetrack here. Do you buy into the sustainability claims that these brands do? Like Oris, pretty famous for everything they're doing. They even made like an upcycled Aquis dial made of recycled or upcycled plastic. Do you buy that? Or are they just cheaping out and not spending money on packaging?
I think if you look at the majority of not just watch companies, but the companies in general who tout, we're using less for this and we're saving on this, and it's just marketing,
Yeah.
and I don't think they truly believe in it. I think hotels are now liking not doing the, taking your towels every day or whatever the case may be. I think Oris makes such a big deal of it that maybe there is some actual real, motivation or interest in that cause. Um, it's tough to take companies like that at face value because I know that they're also saving money by doing that.
Right.
I, so I don't spend too much time thinking about it. Maybe it's helping, maybe it's not. Maybe they care about it, maybe they don't. It really doesn't matter to me, honestly.
It's good PR. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, that's all I'll say on that. All right. Well, why don't we do a low now? We did a high. Let's go to your first low.
This is gonna sound bad, me saying this, especially because of the episode that you said I was on before, Mount Rushmore micro brands. I would say I'm currently low on micro brands, not out of interest in learning more about them, not out of seeing them in person at watch fairs. But if you look at my collection, I have 0 micro brands. I've only ever bought one micro brand watch. It's tough for me to kind of like verbalize why that is exactly. I just think that if I'm buying affordable, I usually just go Seiko. There's so many Seiko watches that I really like. And then when you want to move on from them, it's very easy. There's so many Seiko fans out there. Of course, you're going to take a hit, but whoop-de-doo. Like, if you're buying a Seiko for less than $1,000 and you're selling it for a little less than you bought it, that doesn't matter to me. There's always going to be Seiko fans looking to buy your watch. But I do think the majority, on the whole, the more established Citizen and Seiko do it better than the micro brands. I think people point out what micro brands are good at. And I'm talking specifically as even less than $1,000 retail micro brands. Yeah, they check the boxes. Okay, you get the on-the-fly micro adjust, you get the sapphire crystal or the ceramic bezel. But I still feel that, especially when it comes to dials, that the more established brands just do it so much better. I think there's, of course, room in the collection for both. It's just for some reason I'm not buying micro brands. So I even though my enthusiasm is still there for them, I must put them as a low because I'm not putting my money where my mouth is. So it pains me to say it. It does, but it's just where I stand right now. I still love seeing all the brands that wind up. I go to a wind up at least once or twice a year now. And but yeah, I just not pulling that trigger, as they say. I'm not pulling that trigger.
Now,
Can you relate at all?
is Laurier in this? I know, and if you're not familiar with Keith again, he's a pretty big Laurier fan. He just likes what they're doing, I think, or you like what they're doing.
I mean, again, I'm not putting my money where my mouth is. I don't own one.
Right.
There was a model. I was talking to Laurier at the last watch fair, and I was trying to decide on one. And I was saying, are these collections staying? Is this what's going? What's staying? What's coming down the pipeline? And they were telling me all about it. But I said the one I like the most, they immediately discontinued like a month after I was talking. It's like, I knew this is going to be discontinued, and you didn't point it out to me. But it seemed like when it went for sale, they just had a couple lying around. They basically put the Neptune up for sale. There's a date and the no date, and I really like the date. And it seemed like the date they stopped making, but they had a couple lying around. So when they put the both up for sale, the date sold out almost immediately, and it was immediately discontinued. And I asked them, "Did you discontinue it?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're not making it anymore." I'm like, "Son, that's and I haven't, but." I'm really, because of things going on in my life, I knew going into this year I wasn't going to be buying much anyway. And even though it's an affordable brand, $500 for a watch, $500 is still a lot of money to me. So I just decided I'm taking a year off from really buying.
No sweat for you.
No, what for me?
No sweat for you. A year
Oh
off.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, big deal.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I'm with you on micro brands. That was like maybe the first year and a half of the hobby for me. I was really into micro brands. Um, and yeah, I don't feel that there are some I admire and some that I think are great and doing great things, but I don't know, just not willing to put my money down for any micro brands. I used to really care about specs, and now I'm more about like story, how a watch makes me feel, and if it happens to be a micro brand that I connect with, then that's cool. It just hasn't happened in a long time. I'm not opposed to it. If one came along and I really dug the vibe and the story and the watch is something I felt like I would wear a lot, then of
mhm.
course I'd buy it. Not automatically discounting anything because it's a micro brand. I know we have some friends who are not into micro brands pretty vocally,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, I'm not. I'm not like that much of a hater. But overall, I would say that ship has sailed for me. But I'm not. I'm not. Closed off to the idea of buying one again. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Neptune goes on sale again tomorrow. Maybe I'll just throw this all out the window. If I want to say, a positive thing, just out the top of my head, I saw the new Formex came out with a new dial this year. It's a rose gold meteorite dial, and in person, that dial is very, very impressive. They had it for their 39 Essence, and now they just released it for their, I think it's like a 40. I don't know. I forget the bigger Essence size, and then they have the carbon case Essence that they came out with it for, and that really impressed me in person. It's probably my dial of the year.
Yeah.
So they're always, micro brands are always doing great things. I'm always interested to see what are they coming out with, what do they think is going to sell, what do they think is going to hit with people, like even like I'm not into Long Island Watch, but I watch his videos just to see like what is he coming up with new that he thinks gonna sell. He's sold so many already. What is this new thing that he thinks people are gonna want to buy? So just like it's just I find that interesting even though I'm not a buyer myself, if that makes sense.
What did you think of that new collaboration he did with TGV?
That was a rough one. I don't
Which I didn't even know was very similar to another watch, the Linde Verdelin. I think somebody in one of our discords put up a
mhm.
picture of the watch, and it looks very similar to what they came out with, the Rangemaster 2 or whatever it's called. Yeah, that one missed the mark for me, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm with you on micro brands. Again, I'm totally open to it if one strikes my fancy. It just has not happened in a very long time. And again, I'm at the point now where I don't buy every watch I see or that I'm interested in. I am able to like, okay, yeah, cool watch.
Mhm.
I would probably sell it in 2 months if I bought it. So let's just skip that one. And
Yeah.
that's how I feel about most micro brands.
Well, plus for me, I'm gonna sound like Jeff McMahon for a second, but with me, I really am sticking to six watches. I would say six watches and a possible Casio. I don't own a Casio currently because mine broke this year.
Ah,
But so I could see one slot being taken up by a micro brand, but I have six watches right now, probably selling one of them to make some room, but I really try and stick to that. Not that it's like I have to, but I really try and stick to, quality over quantity and, what I really want to wear day in and day
yep.
out. So,
Yep, that's me too. Because that part of my brain that likes to buy watches is still there. Get really excited by it, but then there's the other part which is slowly taking over, like the day to day wearing of them, and I don't
mhm.
really like to disrupt that. That's when I start to get anxious. Having a small collection, I used to be like Jeff McMahon and be a little all over the place and like get stressed out by the hobby. Those days are over for me. I don't really get stressed out by watches at all anymore. And it has everything to do with having a small collection. I know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yep. All right. My first low, we touched on a few YouTubers here. YouTube content in general, when it comes to watches, I know a lot has been made the last few weeks. Mark from Long Island Watch released a video that kind of, I don't know, criticizing people reviewers who want to get paid, essentially take free watches or cash. I know the Casual Watch Talk guys had Mark on talking about that. They did another episode kind of criticizing the fact that everybody is doing top 10 lists this year. I feel like every YouTuber is doing this for a living, it seems now. That's an exaggeration. Not everybody is, but the majority of them seem to be doing it for a full-time job. Jody, Andrew Morgan, all these people. And I think that is starting to show a little bit. The content serves them more than it serves an audience, I think. And now that I don't buy as many watches, I always used to take reviews with a grain of salt. But now if I see like Bruce Williams or Oisin O'Malley hawking some micro brand, I know they are not wearing those watches. I know what those guys wear. And it ain't this. So they're getting paid, and that's cool. And also, as a content creator, coming up with regular content is hard. That's why I've taken months off the podcast at a time. So kudos to anybody who puts out videos once a week or 3 times a week. I mean, that's really hard. It takes a lot of time. And, if they feel like they need to be compensated for that, that's cool. But sometimes it loses me as a viewer. I just feel like it's more evident than ever that these guys and gals are doing this for a living, and I'm out. And especially now that we're not doing Watch Soup, my watch content consumption has gone way down. There's only a couple channels I will watch. This watch, that watch. I love what he's doing, and a couple others. And then I'll listen to some podcasts. But man, I don't know. I am like completely out on watch YouTube content. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I must say, one of my possible lows that I have written down is no YouTubers you could trust anymore.
Right. We can go right into your other low.
Yeah. Well, let's just take Just Warm a Watch, for example. Maybe he tells the truth. Maybe he tells it like it is, but he gets paid good money by the brands he reviews. And is he really going to be negative if he's going to stop the gravy? Is he going to be negative about a Zelos? Because I know of someone that Zelos stopped sending them watches because they gave him a bad review. Can you really trust that they're going to be honest?
Right.
Because they're giving them so much money. I mean, why is there not more people in the audience pushing back on that? Why do you want to watch someone review something when you know that they're getting paid to do so? That's not a review. Like, I used to be really into video games. I'm getting back into them again. But like IGN, for example, the big video game website, they always used to get accused of taking money for reviews. And they always said, this doesn't happen. And our marketing department that advertises is completely separate from editorial. And it was a big deal that they never received money. Now everyone's just like, hey, they're giving me money for reviews and I'm reviewing it.
Yeah.
Why is that okay? I just don't understand it. So you really have to, and I still watch a lot of YouTube. I like it to me, like watch reviews is good to have on the background.
Right.
Something if you want to get away from politics or whatever's going on, something that's kind of meaningless, but you can enjoy, and you could maybe see a watch on video that you haven't really seen before or whatever. But you really have to dig deep into YouTube to find people who are just maybe talking about their own collection, and there's not some kind of like income stream that they're worrying about.
Yeah. Yep. So on the casual, I don't know if you watched the Casual Watch live stream Sunday.
I did,
yeah. And Todd made a good point, because I think Sam said it's a hobby, but then he was going on about how the feeding the algorithm and everything. And Todd said it's like a slippery slope. If it's a hobby, should you really be like obsessed with the feeding the algorithm? And I don't know how to feed podcast algorithms. I really like to do like weird episodes because it's creatively satisfying for me. So I don't talk about new releases. I didn't do a Cubitus episode to get clicks or anything like that. So I don't know how that works, but there is a temptation to like constantly check the downloads and what cities and countries they're coming from, and what devices they're using and what episodes resonate more than others. I mean, even if it is a hobby, I think you want some feedback, positive or negative, or the fact that you want to know somebody's out there actually getting it and consuming it. So, but yeah, I think when we first got into watches, there were some people doing it, as an income stream, but a lot of it was just passion. People like us who got into the hobby, had something to say, and had a camera, and made a YouTube channel. And now I feel like it's a lot more calculated, and people are doing this. People are doing paid Discords. So many people are doing paid reviews, like you said. I mean, I've pushed back a little bit because I talked about this in an episode. Jody and Dave from Just the Watch said this San Martin was an original design, this GMT, and it clearly isn't. It's clearly ripping off the Grand Seiko. And both of them said in videos, the original design San Martin, and I on both of those comment sections, and you get attacked, man. You go after on those channels. If you go after the AliExpress stuff, they come after you like vultures. But I said, you know what? That's not an original design. It's not cool. It's misleading your audience.
Yeah.
And Dave claimed to not know, or he was still defended it. Jody knew that watch was a Grand Seiko ripoff. In my opinion,
it's tough to say.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I still watch some of these channels too. I actually really like Just the Watch.
I like him too. He's a great guy. I think Jody's awesome.
Yeah.
Jody's like the first weekend I got into watches. I found his channel and I still watch most of his videos. I don't know. That rubbed me the wrong way. Come on. You're familiar enough with Grand Seiko. This is clearly that watch. The bezel's identical. It's has some other similar characteristics. I don't know. Just kind of rub me the. There's a few other YouTubers who I think are like. I think one in particular might be like the president of San Martin or something. It just we don't have to name anybody else. I feel bad doing that, but yeah, there are some of these now that I am unsubscribing from and just ignoring. But whatever.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it, but I saw. First of all, there's a new watch. Have you noticed there's like a new watch channel every day? There's
a lot of them. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like literally, I would say every other day I come across a watch channel I've never heard of before. It's crazy that people are willing to jump in now. But I was watching this guy. I just stumbled across his videos. He only talks about his own watches, which are mostly Rolex. And he's into photography and Rolex, basically, even though he has some other watches. And he kind of he's just talking about his watches, and he doesn't come out with videos that often. It's called SC1. I don't know. It's like the most random channel, but he kind of like took a Rolex to New York, and how do I feel wearing a Rolex in New York?
That's cool. I like that.
Here's
stuff.
I don't know. Here's the Wimbledon Datejust I just bought. I'm going to talk about it for a little bit or whatever, stuff like that. But so you really have to dig deep into the people who aren't uploading all the time and trying to get in a watch after watch after watch.
Right. Yeah.
But they're out there. I still think I'm still in the You're Terrific bandwagon. I still like him. He says he does not take money from brands at all. He says, he does have exquisite like cinema watch every once in a while that he sends back. But
yep.
I still, and of course, people like Sanjay, he always bought every watch he reviewed and he never held back. So they're out there. You kind of have to dig deep. Like with anything,
right?
Anything that's any kind of interest you're into. It's not the surface level most popular, choices that maybe are the best for you. So.
Yeah. I am much more into the topical stuff. Like I remember every morning I used to watch even when I wasn't interested in the watches, Tim Masso's watch reviews, he does every morning. He releases like 3 of them, 1916. And I don't watch those anymore. I mean, I could unsubscribe from half of these channels. A lot of the top 10 list stuff, I just don't. It's a great idea. And I've been thinking about making some top 10 list podcasts. But I don't know. I just kind of cooled out watching a lot of that stuff because it's all very samey. And I think they even talked about on the Casual Watch Talk live stream that that's what the algorithm likes. You make the same episode just with different content, different topics, but every episode kind of the same layout. So top 10 affordable watches under $1,000, top 10 under $5,000, like that kind of thing. And the YouTube algorithm will push that kind of stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have another high? I'm lost already.
I'm going to go for my other high. This is kind of an obvious one, and it's kind of not no longer super current, but just the use of titanium today. That's my high.
I'm with you.
Especially with that Longines Zulu, they're using more titanium now. They've used it in the past, especially titanium that looks like stainless steel. Now, obviously, if you have, let's say you have a good example of this is Grand Seiko. If you have a Grand Seiko titanium next to a steel, you might be able to tell the difference visually because maybe the titanium is a little darker. But ultimately, on its own, it looks like stainless steel. I'm not really into the titanium that looks kind of rugged. I don't know a better way to describe it. But just the fact that more and more and more companies are using it for someone who doesn't like to wear heavy watches, that's a big plus for me. And it seems to has sustained its popularity. It's not like I would say bronze had its moment, and that moment has passed.
Right.
I think titanium is still. I think it's here to stay. I'm gonna make a proclamation that it's here to stay for a while, and I really hope it is. I think Tudor using it for Pelagos after Pelagos or Pelagos after Pelagos, however you want to say it. I think that's a good sign. But more and more, look at Christopher Ward in the 12. Christopher Ward's using it for the Del Canto, which is super popular. I mean, really, a lot of these brands, Rolex is using it now, even. So. Yeah, I'm just excited that it seems like it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think bronze really isn't all that functional, and the more you wear it, the worse it looks. Some people like that, some people don't. Titanium is functional; it's light, so you can have a braceleted watch that wears nothing and wear it comfortably. Because I know a lot of people don't like the added weight of a bracelet, and it makes a watch uncomfortable for them. So yeah, I think that functional component of titanium, it's going to stick around. I'm with you. I love titanium watches. I like both. I like the rugged like Pelagos or the FXD black that I have. Just looks like a badass tool watch. But then, the Citizen has some polished titanium bits, which would look really nice. Surprisingly, the Casio Oceanus, they do a great job polishing titanium on that watch. Grand Seiko, of course, with some of their titanium offerings. So I like it all. Titanium, and it scratches a little easier, so I really appreciate the Duratect on the Citizen. If that bothers you, Citizen's doing great things with titanium at all price points. A few $100s you can get super titanium with Duratect. You don't have to break the bank to get titanium.
Yeah, and I've been lucky enough to see some of these Citizens in person this year, and they were just fantastic. Who knows? Maybe there's one in my future one day. We'll see.
That's a Keith watch, I think. But you're not a big quartz guy, right?
I'm not a big quartz guy, so I did own a Grand Seiko quartz. First of all, I think my big mistake at that point was making my most expensive watch also quartz. It seemed like a mismatch. But it really doesn't bother me on the speed timer. I think that's because it's just a smaller subdial that you could see kind of like the ticking seconds. I can't really explain it, but maybe quartz for me maybe belongs on more affordable watches. I think in my 6-watch collection, I probably have room for 1 quartz. And it's working well for me, but it's hard to deny just the Citizen, how great it looks and how great the dials look in person, how great the titanium looks just like stainless steel. There's really nothing bad you could say about those watches. So who knows?
Well, I don't know. The things you don't like about quartz watches can kind of be solved with the expensive ones. Like the ticking is more smooth. Also, that like anti backlash.
Mm-hmm.
So the second hand's doing all kinds of things when it goes around on a cheaper quartz watch, but it doesn't do that on the 9F and on the A060 anyway. So I don't know. I think you could be a high accuracy quartz, luxury quartz guy, but maybe you just have to find the right watch. I know you tried that before and it didn't work. My dogs are getting restless here, so let's press on. My other high. I'm not a big GMT watch guy. I've said that before. I don't particularly find 24-hour bezels all that attractive. So going back to a brand we talked about, Moser just came out with the Pioneer Dual Time GMT, like a clean GMT. Looks like a regular three-hander, except it does have the GMT hand, and the 13 through 24 are around the dial, like the 13's on the 1, the 14's on the 2. For my simple brain, who I have to do math every time I try and tell time in 24-hour time, that's really nice to me. I just want a simple bezel-less GMT. Like I'm down to buy a GMT like that, but I just find like GMTs in general, I don't care about telling a time in another time zone, let alone 2 other time zones. They're just overkill for me, and I really have no practical use for one, and I don't particularly like how they look either. But so I'm all for like a clean, simple GMT watch. If I could afford this Moser Pioneer Dual Time GMT, the green dial, I think it looks awesome. That orange hand, such a nice looking clean watch. But yes, more GMTs that aren't so busy and trying to do too much.
Yeah, I have no use for GMT watches at all, but I love how they look.
Yeah.
I own a GMT watch, and I've never once sent that GMT hand. I just set the regular time and move on. I just think it looks cool. I wish I didn't like the look of GMT watches so much, but I actually hate that I keep having interest in them because I prefer divers over GMT watches, but yet there's so many GMT watches I just love the look of. So I guess I'm just willing to put up with a complication I have no use for just because I like the look. And that's ultimately what it's about for me. If you like the look of a watch,
Yep, that's it. I just don't. Yeah, I'd never. As soon as I see a watch as a GMT, I actually get disinterested because I don't love the look. And I'm somebody who really likes to interact with my watches. Like if I'm wearing a diver, I will time something every day, whether it be walking my dogs or something that takes me 5 minutes. This Breitling chronograph, same thing. Every night when I go out with the dogs on a hike, I hit the chronograph. Like I enjoy using the complications. So, and with a GMT watch, I don't know. I don't enjoy interacting with it. I don't love it. So, but yeah, I'm all for a simpler one like this. I guess I'll do my low because did you have anything to add about your low with YouTube?
No, I already feel bad for calling out certain channels.
I know.
I will say, like, just one more watch. Even though I have an issue with an audience being okay with someone getting paid to reviews, I'm just as guilty. I watch his videos.
Right. I really like him. I really like Jody. I always have, and I probably always will. But see, I feel like with Jody, he's actually not shy about calling out negatives, calling out warranties, brands that do 1-year warranties. He's always going to be a stickler for that. Sometimes he's more harsh on watches than others, but I don't know. I feel like he's given it to watches that he's gotten for free or probably charged for and got to keep the watch. I have other YouTubers in mind that I'm very dubious of. I won't say any more names either, but no, Jody's not one that I actually am too. I understand because I liked how he mixes it up. He says every week he likes to do one that is sponsored content, one that was lent in, and one that he bought. So I actually respect that. Not every single watch is bought and paid for by somebody else. So I actually respect that format and that not everything is sponsored content, unlike some others.
Yeah, it's just I question um, the negatives that reviewers give on watches to know if that's really the negatives that they found, or they're just kind of trying to find something that's not that big of a deal that they could point at. Oh, this is plexiglass, so if you're okay with your crystal being scratched, it's like, is that all you really have to say, or are you holding back? I don't know. You just at one point you just relax and watch a video. Yeah.
I feel like you have to go into the comment section to learn the truth sometimes, because these are the people who actually own these watches and have no skin in the game, so they'll tell the unvarnished truth. Like I've noticed some YouTubers have done reviews recently of that aerospace I bought earlier this year, the Orbiter, the orange dial. That is having a lot of problems. So many people have had the same situation that I had, where right out of the box, it didn't function properly and they had to send it back. Not one single mention in any of these reviews about that. And doing 2 minutes of research for your video, you will find a lot of people on the forums and in other places who are having these issues. So you have to go to the comment section, and there, everybody's saying, oh, bought one this year, had to send it back to Breitling in Switzerland, had to send it back, got a refund. I mean, that's sometimes, unfortunately, where you have to go into the comment section. And sometimes it's a cesspool, a lot of negativity in there, a lot of neckbeardy arguing going on in there and stuff. But a lot of times, more often than not, these are people who bought the watch with their own money and give their honest opinions.
Yeah. I find the comments to be very, very helpful. Yeah. I look at that just as much as the regular video, if there's enough of them,
Right.
But I'll leave my lows at that.
Okay. All right. I have one more, and it's when people dismiss a watch as too expensive just because of the brand. Timex today, actually, I was thinking of this idea for another brand, but then Timex today came out with a GMT watch in collaboration with James brand. Titanium, I think it's grade 5 titanium, actually. The Miyota 9075 Traveler's GMT Movement, really great watch. You get a strap with it as well, $750. And a few people did videos and content on it today. Watch Chris, and inevitably you see the person who says Timex should stay in their lane, $750 for a Timex. I would rather buy a micro brand with these specs than a Timex. I feel the exact opposite. I'd rather buy a Timex with these specs than some no-name micro brand that may not be around in a few years. That's just kind of how I feel. So, yeah, I mean, I think these watches are great. Watch Chris is a guy I actually do kind of believe, because he does buy a lot of watches with his own money. And he's a big fan of these watches. And my wife always gets the Timex emails, so she forwards them to me. And even though I get them too, but she always does anyway. And she's like, oh, this is a really nice one. And I think it's probably a great watch. The specs are great for $750. I think you can probably do better price wise with that Miyota Movement now. I think the watches that feature that are coming down a little bit. But I don't know, pretty great watch for $750. And I think people just automatically dismiss it just because it says Timex on the dial.
Right. Yeah, I could be guilty of that. I guess if I see $700 on a Timex, I immediately lose interest.
Now, I'm not going to buy one, so maybe I'm in the guilty as charged myself here of what I'm talking about. But I don't say that. Like I get it. I get why it's $750. And if I was looking for a titanium GMT, this seems like a really nice option. These sell out pretty fast too. There's only 750 of them, I think. So I would rather buy this than some Henry Archer, whatever the heck, a brand that who knows if it's even going to be around in 5 years.
Right. Yeah. Timex is a brand that actually a friend of mine was looking to buy a watch, and she's not into watches or anything. And I recommended Timex, and I said, careful of the ticking's loud. And so she actually bought one without a seconds hand, and it actually looks really nice, and she really loves it. So it really worked out. So I don't know if someone who's been in the hobby for a few years still is into Timex. I'm sure they're out there. And all they need to do is come out with a watch that, anyone can like. I mean, it could happen at any time with any brand. So
Watch Chris has always been consistent. I remember when I first discovered his channel when he had like 3,000 subs. I bought like the Falcon Eye Q Timex, and I was watching a review, and he was the only one that had a review of it. So he's been pretty consistent. He's like Timex even before brands were sending him watches and, potentially paying him. But in the early days. So I always trust his, he is a guy who has many high-end watches and still enjoys and collects Timex. So my wife has like 20 of them. She loves Timex. Maybe I'm a little biased there too because she loves them so much. I'm influenced by that a little bit, but I'm always rooting for them, and I don't think this is a crazy ask, and they will sell out. Yeah.
I bought a watch. I bought a Timex for my wife and a few years ago, and she still loves it. She still wears it all the time. So.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we'll stop there. 2 highs and 2 lows. Maybe we'll make this like a bi-monthly event. Hopefully there's enough things that we enjoy and equal amount of things that piss us off, and we can come back in a couple of months and do another episode. Maybe we'll think of 3 by then. But thank you, and all apologies to the Felger and Maz show for stealing your idea. Well, thank you for joining, Keith. Anything else you'd like to add before we end here?
No, thanks for having me on, and I look forward to listening to more episodes, not this one, but other episodes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you listen to the episodes you're on?
No, I can't do that. I used to record music, and I got used to listening to my voice, and that was a long time ago, and now I'm back to not being able to stand my voice again. So,
what did you play, or what do you?
I play guitar.
Okay. Do you play much anymore?
No, not too much anymore. I don't know, just kind of lost interest. I played for a really long time. Every once in a while, I'll bring it back out again and see if I could rekindle the magic. But I used to play more, I think, because it was with other people. I'd go to open mic nights and I know the people there, or I'd be in a band and play with those people. And by myself, it's kind of boring.
Hey, maybe I'll commission you to write an all-new Watchdog podcast theme song. All right, man. Well, yeah, we'll have you out again soon. I really appreciate you taking the time on a weeknight to join me.
Thank you.
And I also appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. Feel free to give me a 5-star review. Helps the podcast grow. I always appreciate that. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Watchdog Podcast. See you later.